All right, we are now joined with Liam and Eric of the Bat Boys Baseball. You guys are my favorite social media in terms of the baseball world. I love what you guys do. Big on TikTok, big on Instagram, over 260,000 followers. You guys are basically living my dream life, talking to all these MLB stars. Thanks again for joining the show, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
So I just kind of want to start at the beginning for a lot of our listeners. If they haven't seen your Instagram, your favorite video or my favorite video of you guys is the one that you have pinned, and it explains your story. Basically what it was, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys basically started because you lost your senior year of high school baseball season to COVID, right? Is that basically how you guys started?
Yep. Had to fill the void somehow.
And so that basically, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, Liam played a lot more baseball than I did in high school. I wasn't lined up to play, and I hadn't played junior year the year before. But yeah, we just we went to games all the time together, and just because of COVID, we couldn't even go to games anymore. But we did a bunch of baseball activities together, and there was nothing to do with our time.
So like a lot of people, you guys, kind of started just making videos almost basically for yourselves. That's kind of how our podcast, sort of fell at the start, at least, where it's like, we're putting this out. I don't really know who's listening or who's watching. At what point did it kind of start to take off? Was there ever like a, holy shit moment? This is really getting big.
I mean, the first summer, I remember the first video that blew up on TikTok was one of our player impersonations. But I mean, it didn't really start to get real until the next summer and the summer after that, when we were on the field or in the stadium and talking to players, when we realized like the potential the channel had, because the players just seemed to vibe with us so much and the questions that we would ask them at stadiums. So I would say like summer of 2021 was kind of when we had like the aha moment, when we were doing our game vlogs at stadiums and asking players questions.
What do you think it is that players seem to resonate with you guys? Is it the fact that you guys kind of ask these sort of off the wall questions? Is it how like kind of you guys are just basically looks like you're almost like shooting it off a phone? It's very casual. What do you think it is that these MLB players seem to really love?
I think, well, one of the biggest things is that, especially with the minor leaguers, that we're their age. Like we're the age of guys that even the big leaguers play with. There's always some young guys around in the clubhouse and stuff like that. And we're just kind of like, we're on kind of a different vibe with them than traditional media. And I think they appreciate the kind of change of pace with that.
I think you guys are part of the new media movement. Draymond Green has coined that term. I think once Draymond is done, he's moving right into broadcasting. He's going to jump right on TNT probably. And he has started talking about that new media, younger people that can connect more with current players. Then it's nothing against the older generation. Sorry, Ted, I'm not taking a shot. But, some of the people who've been covering the game for 30, 40, 50 years, yes, they have that experience, but maybe they don't connect with the 20, 21-year-old players. So that's probably part of your guys' connection. I wanted to ask, what's a memorable, the first one that comes to mind? Maybe that's what you just explained. But like if someone asks, what's the memorable interview, that the first one that pops to your mind? What is that for both of you guys?
That's difficult. I mean,
for me, starstruck wise, it was both Juan Soto and Mike Trout.
Mike Trout.
More so Mike Trout, just because I watched him in like 2011, 2012. I'm in elementary school then. And it's just like, it was absolutely surreal looking that man in the eyes. Like, oh my God. It was wild.
Was he pretty vanilla to interview? Because, when you see Mike Trout, I mean, he's doing Subway commercials. But how is he, in person? Is he a little more like personable?
A little bit. He's definitely a little dry, but like totally like respectful. Like clearly was like with what we were doing, like he enjoyed it. But a lot of the comments on our Mike Trout videos have been like, this is the most Mike Trout answer ever. Although he's like kind of dry, but he was cool.
Well, you guys really are putting together something like Matt said. I mean, it's the future of sports media, I think, and it's proven with all the followers you guys have. You talked about your go-to interview at the beginning, but how did you start? Did you reach out to the Nationals PR guy and say, hey, here's what we want to do? And, walk us through the first time you interfaced with a major leaguer.
Yeah, it was a long road to get there. When we were talking earlier about, how we approach players with the camera and stuff, some, are a little optimistic, some are totally down with it. But it started just going as fans, and we'd ask minor leaguers, and it was difficult to get them to come up. But once the 2022 season rolled around, a few teams had actually reached out to us about filming just content in their stadium, not necessarily interviews. So when the season rolled around, we emailed a couple of minor league teams. We started with the Bowie Bay Sox, the Fred Nats. And once we had the media passes, it just made like a huge difference. The players recognized that we were like an actual media outlet and going to give them a voice. That was a huge game changer. But Liam was a huge, when he went down to the Fred Nats for the first time, I wasn't with him this summer. That was a huge step for us moving up to the big leagues.
Do you guys ever, I'm in the Tigers Comerica Parks press box all the time, which I don't think you guys have been to yet. That should be the next stadium on your list, but
not this season. Maybe not this season.
Yeah, not this season. Next year, opening day, you guys love it.
Yeah.
But do you guys ever get sort of negative, maybe it's looks, maybe it's comments from some of these like old timer type media members? Because I'm up there and, I'm not doing anything nearly like what you guys are doing. I feel like I'm just out of place and I'm just up there doing my job. So how does it feel when you guys are, walking into these parks? And you're 40 years younger than most of these media guys. What's it like? Do you ever have any negative interactions, or are most people welcome you with open arms?
I'd say it's been overwhelmingly positive. Like, I don't want to bash any of the experiences we've gotten. Right. But there are like the occasional media people we like interact with that kind of just give us the vibe that they're like, why are you guys here? Like, you guys don't deserve to be here. Like, why is this kid dressing like this and he's allowed on the field? But I'd say overwhelmingly it's been totally positive, and people are excited to hear about what we're doing.
Yeah, I'd say the media personnel at least has been really personal to us. I can't think of anything outside of like maybe fans that have just been like giving us looks at stadiums, like older fans especially.
Yeah, like who are these influencers that somehow have access to the field?
I don't want to bash a guy, but there's just one memory that comes to mind when we were doing an interview with Adam Wainwright on the field, and we were walking off afterwards, and a guy got upset. He was like, "Oh, he would have signed autographs if you guys didn't stop him to do the interview." And we were like, "Oh, sorry,
that's not your guys' problem.
Come and sign autographs for you."
Sorry, you didn't get your program signed by Adam Wainwright. I apologize. I'm curious. You guys are both still in college. Before you started this venture, did you guys have any aspirations to be journalists or reporters, or has this sparked an interest to you guys to work in the media? Or is this just going to, kind of more a hobby, like on the side type of thing?
Well, I'm actually a journalism major at JMU, cool. So I definitely want to do something with it for my career. But I actually came in as a business major. I've always had a minor in sports communication. I knew I wanted to work like in the field of sports. But I've always just like had this passion for covering baseball and wanting to have knowledge about it and spread knowledge about it. So I think journalism definitely like fits in well with what I wanted to do in my career. But once we started this page, that's when I realized like it's something that I really wanted to do.
Yeah. And I'm not as much into the journalism side of things. Like I tried out being on high school, the high school newspaper a couple years ago. And like, that's not really totally my thing.
No.
I definitely kind of like the conversation vibe more with players. And I'm an international relations major. I've always kind of wanted to work to expand baseball internationally. And I kind of saw the Bat Boys thing as a foot in the door with that. So like, I don't have any specific path in mind, but definitely not like traditional, like reporting or journalism.
Right. I've seen videos where you're interviewing players and you're asking them questions in Spanish. One, do you know Spanish? And then this is a question for both of you guys. What goes into these? What do you guys look for before these interviews? Do you have do you prep questions or certain questions for every single player on the roster, because you're not sure who you're going to be able to get at these batting practices? So what's the process of coming up with questions for these guys? Because you interview all different types of players, and you have very interesting questions for each of them. So go ahead, Liam, you first.
So for the Spanish thing, yeah, I've been taking Spanish most of my like school life. I kind of lost it. I kind of lost it a little bit during COVID just because I wasn't even taking classes, but I decided to continue it in college. I'm minoring in it, and just the real world kind of experience of this past summer, like totally like skyrocketed my fluency. Like I'm definitely not fluent, definitely don't have perfect grammar, but I'd say at this point I can communicate any kind of subject. Like I can say what I want to say in some form. And then in terms of like preparing the questions, like of course when we're thinking of questions, I want to like kind of perfectly translate that in Spanish, and then I memorize that. And then kind of for like the subject of the questions, I guess Eric can go into this too, but our car rides are a lot of fun because we're just bouncing ideas off each other back and forth.
Yeah, car rides, sometimes metro rides into DC, but yeah, those long car rides, we have a lot of time to prepare. And I mean, obviously people that have watched our page, they see we will ask the same question to multiple teams and multiple players. And we like to put them together in a compilation format, but we also try to prepare individual questions, like player specific questions when they present themselves. But yeah, I mean, we definitely have a lot of favorites that we like to turn to, ones that show off the player's personality. Like I know one of my personal favorites is asking them their walk-up song. Sometimes it's a complete dud. They just say, "Oh, I like it because it's groovy." But other times there's a really cool backstory behind it. Like Riley Adams for the Nationals, their catcher. He was the neighbor with the drummer for Blink 182 growing up. So that's why he has the walk-up song. And he used to go to like concerts in their driveway all the time growing up. So you can just tell you a lot about a player when you ask a question like that.
Pretty cool story.
I'm amazed with your access you guys get. I remember when I first started out doing interviews, it was really laid back. You know, the players would be loose at batting practice, and I'd be able to grab a player or two. Kind of on Jared's question though, with the media, I also had a couple of stinkers that would not, just were rude to me. Have you had any of the players at all? And you don't have to name names, but have you been shot down in your request for an interview or question?
Definitely have been. And honestly, most of them have kind of been respectful. Like they're like, no, I just don't have time right now. Or like they'll still at least give us a handshake, or at least like one of my like personal things is like look me in the eye. Like when I'm just trying to be respectful and talk to you. But I don't know if I should name drop.
But yeah, guys like Ronald Acuna Jr. walk by like we just thought we had him one-on-one, and they say something like they have to go in for batting practice. And Bryce Harper, who we thought we had, he said yes, but they get taken away by someone on the team just tells them they have to go and do something, or they can't do the interview. Bryce is the only guy that comes to mind because he said yes to Liam, and then someone from Philly swooped in and said, "Nah, man, we got to take you away." But it's definitely happened with a couple other players like that before. I just can't think of the names, but when that happens, it sucks.
Is Bryce your guys' kind of white whale of guys you're still waiting to sort of interview? I mean, it's funny that you guys named off some of your favorites, Mike Trout, and I'm like, you guys talked to Garrett Cole, Jose Altuve. I mean, they don't even get a mention for all the people you guys had talked to. But who is sort of the white whale of interviews that you guys still want to do?
I think it still has to be Acuna. I really want to get Ronnie, and we haven't had a shot with the Dodgers yet, but Trey Turner is just someone that I want to talk to, watching him play for the Nats so long. So he's.
How about you?
You're going? Is it Liam? You're going up to Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, it's not for a game.
I was telling you how you're going there Thursday.
Are you going to have access? Are the Yankees going to be around, like to get Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, some of those guys? Or
no, I'll actually get back to my interaction with Judge, but this is just like it's an event with Bernie Williams, and I think
which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's incredible. But it's like a lunch and batting practice in the cages, something like that. Maybe charity involved or something like that. I forget kind of the specifics of it, but yeah, basically I'm going to be filming the whole thing. It's with Poland Springs, the water company.
Oh, cool.
But that's
probably He's probably been asked this hundreds of times. This maybe dates me a little bit. Ted will definitely know what I'm talking about. If you ask him about his appearance on Seinfeld, I was always curious. Bernie Williams and Derek Jeter were on an episode of Seinfeld, and I'd always be curious to hear like Was that fun for them? Was it kind of like,
I don't know if that's
corny?
your guys' demographic. Is it as much?
That's what I
have
mean.
you guys seen
My
Seinfeld? I
brother would
haven't.
appreciate it.
People
My
know
brother's
Seinfeld. I'll actually make a note of that
my brother
right now.
loves Seinfeld.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm gonna
You
get a
never,
couple
you never
minutes.
know what kind of videos are going to do well. I remember Liam
Right.
texted me one time and asked if I had actually seen this movie. I asked Mark Canna what the funniest thing said to him was. And he talked about the movie Seven with Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman,
Yep.
and it was a what's in the box reference. And I was like, oh yeah, I've never seen the movie, but I know the reference. And we put it on TikTok, and it did really well. I think like 500,000.
Wow.
It was surprisingly one of our better videos over the summer.
And I've never heard of this movie.
You never know which ones are going to do well.
So to kind of pivot away from the interviews, you guys have had the opportunity to go to a lot of really cool ballparks. It's an argument we have a lot on this podcast. What's the favorite one you guys have been to? Is it PNC Park in Pittsburgh? What might it be?
Camden.
Just for sheer beauty, Pittsburgh is like always number one for me. My mom actually grew up in Pittsburgh, so I got to go there a couple times growing up, and it's just so beautiful. Like nothing really can beat that vibe of just being in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it's amazing being in every single ballpark, but just PNC Park is just a different kind of vibe.
Yeah, I like PNC is definitely just like one of the best skylines. As far as like maybe like a trip ballpark experience, when we went to Salem, Virginia over the summer, there are some great views there. And the whole experience that the Salem Red Sox treated us to was just unbelievable. And well, the food was really good. So I enjoyed that a lot. That was a really cool ballpark for us to visit.
I got one final question for you, fellas. Tell me, I stick it up a poll or something if it's offline. But are you making any money at all on this? Because you have so many followers. Are you able to get some coin?
The main like form monetization we get is just through ads on every platform, and we have that set up for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And basically, it's just based on how long you keep people on the app and views. But I know like a lot of like brand deals are kind of in the works right now, and I know that's kind of where you can make some more serious money. But
that's cool.
Definitely
I was gonna say being in college has kind of held us back from making any serious moves on brand deals and stuff like that. Like I said, and we've benefited from a lot of incredible brands like reaching out to us and sending us care packages. Like Big League 2 just sent us some bubble gum the other day. Love them.
Awesome.
But yes, stuff like that is hopefully in the works soon. But right now, it's just been from those 3 platforms.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. What would you guys say is kind of what's your plan with this? Maybe in 1 year, what do you hope to kind of be doing, or is it a amount of followers you want to get to? Is it a type of content you want to do? Any idea once you get out of college, kind of what the plan will be with this?
Right now, the biggest thing I feel like is trust the process and trust being consistent, because so much has come just from doing that. Like not really getting too ahead of ourselves, just like constantly thinking of more creative ideas we can do. And all these opportunities, like the big league access has come from that. Like going into the summer, our plan was to go to maybe a couple different minor league stadiums, see what we can do with interviews. Honestly, like continue. we were doing skits last summer a lot. We were gonna
first day when we got back.
Really having time, but
yeah, I mean, for me at least, like a big question I'm asking ourselves is like who we can work with going forward. I mean, we do a lot of collaboration posts on Instagram, and working with Bleacher Report Walk Off, I think, is one of the coolest things for us, like in the world. Like everyone knows Bleacher Report. It's one of the biggest sports outlets, and Bleacher Report Walk Off is the number one, branch off for them for baseball. So it's really cool when we get featured on stuff like that. We've been on MLB Network. We were emailing, I think, back and forth with a guy from ESPN for a little bit. So for me, at least, I'd like to know, I don't know if Bat Boys is like a media outlet in itself one day, like if it's going to be the next Barstool Sports or something. I hope not, but I would like to, work with someone, and get some sort of opportunity to, not run our own show, but, run interviews for an outlet that's recognized by a huge audience.
Yeah, that is awesome. I mean, all three of us are big fans of what you guys do. Ted's a little bit later to the party, just due to his age, but we all love you guys.
Due to his age.
But that's maybe the biggest compliment that you guys can get is that even a 65-year-old all the way down to me, I'm 23. Everybody loves your stuff. So keep doing what you guys are doing. Thanks again for joining us. And just take a sec real quick to kind of plug where all our listeners can kind of find you guys.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for the support. Like, it really means so much. Like, we just did not expect anything close to this to come from what we were doing. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Bat Boys Baseball should be pretty easily searchable just with that. I don't know yet if we're gonna expand to Twitter, Facebook one day, but
I think we have them both up right now, but I don't think anyone really follows, or I don't think we've posted anything to our Twitter or Facebook either, for that matter. But yeah, this has been awesome. Like you said, the approval from 3 different generations, I think, to reach that many audiences is really cool. So I appreciate your guys' praise, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep, definitely appreciate it,
fellas.
Thanks so much,
guys.